Wait, cell towers need power? This is a recent favorite of mine. For context, I live in an area of the world where power outages are not very common, but in this story we had quite the major outage recently. User saunters in with a ticket number for me to find and replace the SIM card to his phone. I replace the SIM card and then say, "Alright sir, looks like you're all set. Good luck with your new SIM card and don't forget the back of the card that has the reset codes if need be." User says, "Thanks, I hope I can actually use the data plan on this SIM card. The last one wouldn't give me data for whatever reason." I say, "Ah, that's why you're replacing the SIM card?" User says, "Yep, I thought I would get some work in during that power outage we had last weekend. Because my router was out of power, I thought I'd just use my data plan on my company phone." I say, "Sir, you know that cell towers require power to operate, right?" User says, "So you've wasted your time to replace a SIM card that wasn't broken?" User says, "Thanks, have a nice day," and runs off before I can say anything else. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Storytime with Uncle Jon. So we're trying a little experiment here. I know it's been like a week plus since I've put a video out. Part of that's because we were traveling to Florida, doing our our biannual pilgrimage to Florida to take my mom back to her place where she lives during the winter, and it just didn't work out. My mobile setup isn't really great, but we're trying it out here. We're going to do a test here. I had 12 hours. If you notice, my background's a little different, and the sound's probably going to be a little different too. There's probably going to be a little more echo and a lot more traffic going by, because take a look at this. This is my view right now as I'm speaking to, well, sort of as I'm speaking to you guys. I put the mic down to take a picture, but anyway, you get the idea. I am actually a bridge tender part-time, so I make the little drawbridge go up and down, up and down, up and down. Hopefully not that many times during this video. We'll see how that goes. There aren't too many boats on the water today. There's a couple diehards, but they're in bass boats, so they're able to slide under the other far span, and I don't have to raise the drawbridge for them. Although there's one guy in a Sea-Doo, like a jet boat kind of thing. It's like a two-seater with a little deck. It looks like a mini pontoon jet boat. Really cool looking, really expensive looking. If he decides he wants to come through, he's been tooling around. He went to this little restaurant over here, but if he decides he and his wife want to take a tool upriver, then I'm going to have to open the span for them, but they got to call me on the radio first. That's the rules. You don't call me ahead of time, you can sit there and stare at me all day. Anyway, long story short, that's what all these gadgets and buttons and switches are for, traffic control lights and everything. So it's kind of a neat job. Gets kind of boring at times, but hopefully I can get some quality videos in for you guys. And of course I'm using the standard laptop webcam, so you guys really don't give a rat's ass about the picture anyway, but we'll see how it goes. Alright, let's get a story in before I gotta open the bridge. I'm not letting you pay for that. I work as an IT consultant Monday through Friday and work in a tech retailer on the weekends as a sales colleague. I'm by far the most technical in the store, so whenever I'm on shift I get the technical questions and issues. The extent of this really isn't technical at all. We're talking basic queries about Wi-Fi extenders, routers, laptops, and simple troubleshooting. This particular instance is regarding a laptop. On Saturday, an older guy came in looking for a decently powerful laptop to run large spreadsheets. We went through the usual sales process, talked specs, requirements, and general chit-chat. I got to know that he was retired, and these spreadsheets were a bit of a part-time thing he was doing, being given from a friend to get a little bit extra money. We settled on a lovely laptop somewhere around £1,000 mark, which was quite pricey for somebody who was supposed to be retired, I thought, but he was happy with it. He asked about getting the laptop set up, something we charge a staggering £79 for. Literally run through the basic OOB, what is that? OOBE and run updates. Anyway, you guys will tell me down below. I didn't really feel comfortable charging a pensioner so much for such a simple service, so I explained that it's a very simple next/next/finish exercise and that he should be fine. He agreed and said he'd give it a go himself. The next day he comes back in and finds me specifically and says, "I'm sorry, I couldn't work it out. Can I please pay for that setup?" He was looking quite sad and a little embarrassed. I said, "Absolutely not. Take a seat over there and I'll be with you in 2 minutes." I sat with him for the next hour or so, going through his account details, setting up passwords, etc., and just generally made sure he was happy with using the laptop. I've never seen such a drastic change in a person's mood as I did that day. He was delighted and tried to force me to take some money, personally as a tip, which I respectfully declined. I just told him that I couldn't, in good faith, charge him so much money for something that simple, and that I just wanted to know he had everything he needed and was happy with the service. I've done similar things since then for older customers who struggle with the tech, and I don't even hesitate in offering my time to them. I value customer service and caring for those in need far above the profits of a multi-million-dollar company. Pound company, whatever. Well, good for you, OP. I definitely understand the going above and beyond for customers. Good customer service makes for really good repeat customers. I understand that a lot of these corporate businesses have their guidelines and things like that where you need to charge for a service and everything. Yeah, it can be a little exorbitant. I do think that there is a need to still do that in most cases, but as long as you're not taking away from a bunch of other customers or something you're supposed to be doing to help your other colleagues out, then why not? Sit down, help the guy get set up, and maybe he'll be back to buy peripherals, printers and microphones, whatever. You just never know where that next sale is going to come from. And even if you don't get another sale from this person, just having the satisfaction that they are a truly satisfied customer going out that door, sometimes that's enough right there. So sometimes you just got to do what feels right. This is a story in which a Marine lieutenant shuts a Navy commander the F up. I work in big law and have for several firms. My story happened late in the last century at a former employer. This firm would frequently set up war rooms. During discovery, hardware IT, that is, me and my supervisor, would set up rows of computers, over 60 was our largest, for contract attorneys to review gazillions of scanned documents, if say 25 to 40 seemed about the usual number. Back in the 90s, we used lots of 8 or 16 port Netgear switches connected to the wall and then to the computers. Update. They were Netgear hubs, not switches. It had been so long I forgot what the frickin' things were called. One day we got a call from a partner and he was pissed. Half of a huge room was down and they were losing tons of money and time. Did I tell you my supervisor was a Marine lieutenant and had served in Vietnam and had confirmed kills, and the only person in the firm who wasn't terrified of him was me? It's really important to the story. So the LT and I head down and start troubleshooting. First thing we notice is a lot of the switches were on the floor, not on the tables where we had put them. Second is one or two of them were powered off, right next to vacuum cleaner tracks. Clearly the vacuums from the cleaning crew hit the power buttons and the fix was easy peasy. Me and the LT got them on the tables and he left to talk to the partner. Thing is, half the room was still down. It wasn't obvious until they tried to log back on. So I'm by myself, practically pooping my pants while these contractors are smirking because they have law degrees and the pro tech support guy still can't fix their issue. I'm tracing cables by hand when the LT and partner return. The partner got even more pissed. Smoke practically poured from his ears and he spoke down to the LT. "Thought you said this was fixed." Did I mention the partner had graduated from Annapolis, left the Navy with the rank of commander, was half as old as the LT, and thought his poop didn't stink? That's important to the story too. The LT got on another table to trace cables. We had some Netgear switches daisy chained together with the cable from the wall feeding number 1 on a switch, and the last port on that switch feeding number 1 on the next switch in the chain. That was the original setup when we set up the room. It was the LT who found it. A cable from the wall into number 1, and number 8 on that switch back into the wall. Oh my god. It would have been hilarious if everyone who was not me knew what was about to happen. The LT called me over, pointed out the issue, and told me to call the network admins after I fixed the cabling. He turned around slowly and did something that never happens in neither the military nor a big law firm. The Marine LT/support guy pointed to and growled at the Navy commander and partner. "Come with me," was all he said. The commander/partner followed him into the hallway like a puppy. I saw the looks on the faces of the contact attorneys, and some were amused, some were confused. Most of them thought they were better than me because they had law degrees, and only 2 or 3 seemed to realize poop was about to hit the fan. I called the admins to get the switch reset. The LT and partner returned, and they were both pissed. The LT spoke first. "Mr. Partner told me if there were ever any issues with your equipment, you were to call one of the supervising associates," while pointing to a whiteboard with the names and extensions listed. It's obvious that not only was some equipment moved when problems developed after vacuum cleaners hit the power buttons, that you did not call the supervising associate and tried to fix it yourselves. I'm only going to ask this once. Who tried to fix this issue? Dead silence, if only because I managed to stifle my laughter. I will say the looks on a lot of faces told me they were beginning to figure things out. The partner spoke up. "Last chance. Who effed up the cabling?" Nothing. Not even crickets or stifled laughter from me. After a few moments, the partner picked up a phone and dialed an extension. "Associate, call the temp agency and get 40 new attorneys in here. These guys are all fired." To their credit, the 3 guys who effed things up then spoke up, saving the temp jobs of everyone else. But for not speaking up, all the other attorneys had their music privileges taken away. No headsets. And they weren't given lunch on Fridays like the contract attorneys on other jobs were. So listen, I'm old Navy. So, sometimes there's not a lot of love lost between Marines and Navy personnel, but I gotta say, there's just something about Marine training and whatever they go through, especially if they've been in combat, that just puts a little bit different spin on everything they say and every face they make, every look they give you. At least be a little intimidated when they start that low growl. They're not yelling, they're not hyped up, they're just come with me, like Lurch. Imagine Lurch in a combat uniform. So anyway, could you imagine being in close combat, urban warfare, or anything like that? You round a corner on some dark alley or some street, and you run into Lurch in his full battle gear and plate carrier and everything. I'm pretty sure I would poop myself right then and there and probably black out. Blood sacrifice to the IT gods. About 25 years ago, I worked for a company doing IT install and remodel projects for retail stores. During the holidays, we didn't do projects. Don't risk breaking what works at the busiest time of the year. This meant to keep busy, I would help find our field techs, usually with problems that were kicking their butts. One year, just before Thanksgiving, we get a ticket dispatched for blood spattered on keyboard and computer. No description of the actual problem or how blood got on a PC in the manager's office, or any troubleshooting steps. The local tech asked me if I could deal with this, since they had been out 4 times for this PC, but never something like this. So I call the store, speak with the manager who placed the call. Turns out this is a training PC, and the training app keeps getting corrupted, and he can't train new hires for any department without sending them to another location. So I went out, fixed the app, and since this was in the shared manager office, turned the security camera to record the PC. While doing this, I was talking to the manager and asked where the blood spatter came from. He started laughing. He had been really frustrated and had a rough day. So when the operator asked him what he had done to troubleshoot, he told them the basics and that the tech had worked on it several times. And then they asked him if there was anything else, so he said, well, I stripped naked, did a voodoo dance, including chicken sacrifice to appease the IT gods. I showed him what was dispatched, and he burst out laughing and then realized this would go on his DM report for service calls. System went down again day after Thanksgiving. I went out, checked the recording for the camera, and night before, a couple of guys on nights were playing Doom on the one PC in the store with a working disk drive. And this was corrupting all the specialized software, but not Windows and IE. The working drive was required as the county required a disk with test scores as proof that the food safety handler course was completed properly. Now, the Doom guys makes a little more sense. They're playing Doom, they're getting excited, they're doing whatever. But then I can just picture somebody sitting there getting frustrated enough with their PC that they're like, pounding on the damn keyboard, screaming into the ether. Ether? I don't know. Anyway, screaming into the abyss. How's that? Pretty sure my wife has things go wrong with her laptop, whether it's her doing or, something weird with the software. I'm pretty sure there's times when she's wiping blood off of her keyboard after she's done pounding on it. We were organizing the room, now the internet's gone. Years ago, I worked for a very out-of-date institution hardware-wise. Like, they didn't like using VMs and had hard servers for every single one. One day we got a call from one of the buildings, internet went down, no one knows why. They were just cleaning up the office. We go through the normal steps and then a few other people come into the main office saying they're down too. We check our ability to see that subnet and hardware there bridging them to our DC. All is well, so we have to go check it out. After spending 6 hours looking at IDFs, PCs, a few servers within that building, etc., we ask what exactly they were doing to clean and organize the office. They show us what they did, and about halfway through they shift a cabinet, and we noticed that they took an Ethernet cable and had both ends plugged into the wall. Our head of information security started shaking his head. That loop killed the whole building. When he asked why they plugged both ends into the wall, the reply was, it was open and we were organizing the office. One thing I've learned over the years, and I've done it here already. Now this is my first full day by myself, by the way. I went through some training and stuff like that before my Florida trip and some training yesterday, and here we are. But the one thing I did the first day that I was here was I took my cell phone and I took pictures all the way around this room so that I could see plugs, switches, dials, the radio, the phone. I want to make double sure that, if somebody starts screwing around with stuff in here, A, I don't get blamed and I can take I have proof. B, that if I screw something up, I know how to put it back the way it was so that things function. The good news is there's plenty of outlets in here for me to use, so there's no reason for me to have to move any plugs at all. So the good news is the odds are pretty good that if something screws up, it's something mechanically wrong with the bridge or electronically wrong with the switches for the bridge or something like that, unless I do something really dumb, which let's hope not. I endured an accidental sweatbox trying to escape a nightmare user. Many, many years ago, I was a keen, helpful IT guy just starting out in my career. I was part of a small team of 7 people, all of whom were pretty talented. I didn't understand how talented until I joined a few more companies. Yes, we had many a laugh, but always got the job done and lots of stories were born. I try to always be friendly and useful and love to help, but there were limits. There was one user from the US that I was asked to look after for the week, and she was completely latched onto me. I shall be calling her Miss Funny Shoes, a nod to the movie Mimic. This will become important later. Every hour there would be a new problem, and she would hunt me down, bellowing my name as she did so. I'd hear the very distinctive click-clack of her steps as she crossed the floor to the IT department. I'd take a breath and then await her arrival like Bill Murray in The Bus, help, and then get on with my day. This particular day was blisteringly hot and humid, and we didn't have air conditioning in the office. We had just manhandled a newly delivered, decent-sized printer up a long, sweeping stairs of the company into the IT department and unpacked it. I was known as Spindle Boy because I'm weirdly bendy and could fit behind the racking to cable manage, or pretty much fit anywhere. One guy eyed up the box with a thoughtful expression on his face and said, "Hey Spindle, you reckon you could fit in there?" I say, "Yeah, I'll give it a go." I sat in the box cross-legged and proceeded to fold myself in like a meat-based transformer to the point where the top could be folded in place. Then there was a shout of huzzah from the team. I was about to climb out of the box, victory assured, and then I heard it. Click-clack, click-clack, click-clack. "Stewart!" She burst through the department doors. Clack, 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 clack. "Stewart! Stewart, help me, Stewart!" A perfect memory sample of that still lives rent-free in my head. There she stood 3 feet from me in the middle of the floor, asking my whereabouts while I was basically cowering in a box. In a box that was getting hotter and hotter. At the 3-minute mark, I had to resort to sucking precious life-giving air through the handle hole of the box. At the 7-minute mark, I could hear the tap, tap, tap as beads of sweat dripped off my nose onto the floor of the box. The rest of the team did their best, but she wouldn't leave. 10 minutes in, I started to weigh up my options. I could either live like a POW inside the box forever, or just stand up and fess up. In the box I stayed. 15 minutes later, I was seriously considering leaping out of the box and singing "Happy Birthday, Mr. President," just to taste the precious freedom, when one of the team had the brainwave of moving the printer box into the stock cupboard. I slowly climbed out for precious freedom and cool air. The box floor was soaked, and so was I. The team member looked at the disheveled wreck in front of him, burst out laughing, and then clapped their hand over their mouth with an "oh shit" expression, but it was too late. Clack, clack, clack. Hey, what's so funny? This team member was great, but had absolutely no guile. He was terrible at lying and keeping a straight face. This is a good thing, usually. I slipped behind the door of the stock room, expecting him to crumble and get us both busted, but then heard something amazing from the other side of the door. He rattled off a perfect cover story of getting a funny joke by text from a friend who couldn't share it as it was a bit rude. He apologized for laughing, and she finally left. Luckily, it was near the end of the day, so I spent the last hour hiding in the server room, chugging water, and setting up ISA Server 2000. I'd like to say that I never tried to fit into a box ever again and that I learned my lesson, but I'd be lying. I've had coworkers like that where, for some reason or other, oh, here comes a boat. If you don't radio, you can't get through. For some reason or other, there's certain coworkers who just latch onto you. I don't know if it's that I'm over helpful, and then therefore they feel like I'm the one who's supposed to fix all of their work troubles and their personal problems, be their psychiatrist, their bartender, their lunch server, their, whatever, their repair guy. There's always going to be that one coworker. And I got to say, that coworker is usually better than the one who likes to snitch on you and find all kinds of ways to get you in trouble for absolutely no reason at all. Anyway, guys, gotta go. Boat trying to get through the bridge. Until the next video, we'll see you. Let me know what you think of the background and if the sound was too echoey or not. I'm going to try to work on that, but let me know. See you.